Hi, welcome to St. Mark's.
Welcome to St. Mark's.
Welcome to St. Mark's.
Welcome to St. Mark's. It's great to have you join us today. Welcome everybody to St. Mark's Together. This is our first live stream over Zoom. So apologies for any technical difficulties, but we are praying that none of that will happen. My name is Will Houston. I gave my full name there. I never do that. I am the Children's and Youth Worker here at St. Mark's, and Matt, our vicar, is here with us, and Naomi, our Emerging Generations pastor, is also here with us. But before we get into any formalities, before we get into anything with what is going on with today, I want to know your favourite colours. So my favourite colour is orange, or purple, or blue. I have too many. Naomi, what's your favourite colour?
I love purple. That's my favourite colour.
Good choice, one of my favourites. And Matt, what about you?
For me, it's a toss-up between red and blue. I'm wearing red today, so red.
Great choices. And for any of you who are watching live on Facebook right now, how about in the comments section, how about you let us know your favourite colours, and we'll hopefully be able to mention some of you in the Zoom. So a particular warm welcome if you're joining us for the very first time, or if this is your 100th time at St. Mark's. You are all also welcome. So today you're going to hear from Naomi and from Esther, and you can hear from Matt. So you're going to hear from different voices. And again, like I said, we want to hear from you. So get messaging in that comment section. And when I look here to my left, that's what I'm looking at. Our service this afternoon will be about 25 minutes long. There'll be some running around. There'll be some sitting still, kind of, and listening, but not for too long. And there'll be a joining in exercise. And when I say joining in exercise, I think I mean to say something on the lines of Joe Wicks, but more on that later. So now over the next few weeks, we're going to be in these sessions together. We're going to be looking at some of the original disciples of Jesus. Some of the original disciples that he had over 2,000 years ago. Now, when you hear the word disciple, what do you think of? So in the comment section right now, write down what you think a disciple is. Let me have a look at my phone. Oh, black and white stripes, back to the colours. There are some black and white stripes, yellow tops, definitely, blue, lots of colours here. But when we think of the word disciple, you may think of a beardy man. I don't know, Matt, Naomi, if that's what you think of sometimes. I can't really relate to the beard. Matt, Naomi, I don't think you guys can either. But some of you might think of, follower, learner, some of the words I'm seeing, from Sarah, from Tina, thank you. So some of you might think of beardy men following Jesus around the desert 2,000 years ago. Well, you aren't wrong. Matt, Naomi, and I can probably agree with you all. You wouldn't be wrong in that. Some of Jesus' followers and some of the first disciples were exactly like that, bearded men. But there are more disciples. For a start, Jesus' disciples were also women. Jesus had women as disciples. Jesus also had non-Jewish people, so people outside of the Jewish cultures. And then Jesus also has disciples from people all over the world, from over the past 2,000 years. Now think about that. That's a lot of disciples, isn't it? I can't think of how many that could be. That's millions. And today, Jesus' disciples are simple people, simply people with or without beards, who love God by living their lives the way Jesus did, living the Jesus way. There are some great people in the Bible, which we're going to explore over the next few weeks. And there are some great stories, which we're going to find out about. And as we get to know some of the original Jesus crew, we might find that some of them are just like us, just like you and me. We might even find out that these ancient stories help us in our everyday lives. So I don't know if anybody saw on Facebook, we posted out a couple of days ago, a very famous scene from The Vicar of Dibley, where Dawn French's character, the vicar, jumps in to a puddle. And it's not any ordinary puddle. She comes up to her neck in water. Now, this person who we're going to look at now is very similar to that character in the Vicar of Dibley, where he just wants to jump in and get stuck in, but sometimes might make some mistakes. But let's have a look at some key characteristics about this person. Now, whilst I'm reading these out, again, back to the comments, can you work out who we're talking about? So first of all, they're impulsive. Someone who acts before thinking. So impulsive, who could this be? Second word, enthusiastic, like me. Someone who always volunteers first. Pick me, that kind of energy. Who could this be? Energetic is our third word. Someone with lots of physical and mental energy. Now the fourth one might give it away so much. And also, I have a prop. Now imagine it's a proper fishing rod. It's not really a fishing rod, but imagine me. I'm fishing. There we go. I'm now fishing. They're very fishy. They smell terribly. You wouldn't want to be around them in an elevator. Now, can you see in the comments, is anybody, someone who lets God love them and change them? Ooh. That is a great description of who this person is. Marissa says Peter. Now, Marissa, you've got it right on the dot. We are today looking at Peter. Peter was one of Jesus' disciples, and he was very impulsive, very energetic, and very fishy. Now, I'll give you a quick, brief introduction about Peter before we move on to something very special that Peter has given Matt. Peter was a fisherman. We've already established this. He's very smelly. And fishermen at the time were traditionally uneducated. They didn't really go to school, but would have had great survival skills acquired by working hard and braving the seas. Peter always wanted to show everyone that he had great faith, but frequently fell flat on his face quite a lot of the time. One time, this is an amazing story, one time he actually stepped onto the rough sea. He stepped out of the boat to go and meet Jesus. But he started to sink because he didn't trust sink below the waves. So he did a big bold thing, but then immediately sank. And he often spoke and acted impulsively, grabbing a sword, a bit fancier and a bit more stable than mine, and chopping somebody's ear off. Like, that's very impulsive. You don't often see people walking down the street and then cutting people's ears off. That's very impulsive. But later on in his life, Peter, the impulsive, uneducated fisherman, became the spokesman for the disciples and ended up traveling all over telling people about Jesus. Now, before we hear from the man himself, we're going to hear today's reading. So if you keep your eyes peeled, let me get our words up, and Naomi and Esther is going to give us our reading. Sorry, 1 second. Here it is. Okie dokie. Esther, over to you.
Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. The disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Master." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Master," he wrapped his outer garment round him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing a net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 meters. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there, with fish on it and some bread.
Thank you, Esther. Thank you very much. That was our reading from John chapter 21, verses 4 to 9. Now, over to Matt.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you, Esther. It was so good to hear that story again, wasn't it? And it reminds me actually of a letter that I received, would you believe it, from our fisherman friend, Peter. Now, don't ask me how it got here. it's a mystery. Anyway, would anyone like to hear what the letter has to say?
I certainly do.
I'm sure
Absolutely,
you're all
go
not
for
going
it,
to
Matt.
shout it out. Yeah. Well, it's rather a big scroll, actually, because Peter sent this a long time ago, and it's just behind me. Just a minute. Let me get it. Postman had a little bit of a problem with it. So as you can see, it scrolls a little bit on the big side. Hang on a minute. Let me get my technical assistant.
That's a big scroll, man.
My word. I don't know how the postman managed.
Mystery. Laughed a bit. Oh, thank you. I can read it now. I've got my helpers. Right, here we go. Letter from Peter the fisherman. This is really good stuff. Dear Matt, I'm writing to you because I've heard that you and your friends at St. Mark's have questions about what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. Let me start by reassuring you that you don't have to own a pair of sandals or have a beard. We mentioned that, didn't we? Sometimes people think that following Jesus is for certain types of people, good people, religious people, people who can sit still and listen, people with all the answers, and weird, beardy people. I might have been weird and beardy, but I could never sit still and listen, and I wasn't particularly good. This is what I mean. After everything I'd been through with Jesus, after everything he taught me, I messed up big time, from hero to zero, from Jesus' best buddy to Jesus' worst nightmare. I mean, how can you go from being brave enough to walk on water to being so scared that you'd betray your best friend? What was wrong with me? My words just seemed to come from my gut, not my head. I just kept jumping in head first without thinking. And after I'd messed up yet again, I started wondering why Jesus had ever invited me to follow him in the first place. I mean, why didn't he choose the religious experts? You know, the pros who knew all about our religious traditions and who could pray their socks off. Surely these were the right people for the job. After they took Jesus away and it all went pear-shaped, I was convinced it was over. Jesus was dead and I'd blown it big time. The end. But it turned out that the end was just the beginning. And when I saw the new but not new Jesus standing there on the beach, did it all again. Same thing. I just jumped in. I literally jumped from the boat into the lake. And this time I swam to Jesus. And afterwards on the beach, the new but not new Jesus said that it wasn't my big mouth that he noticed first about me. He said it was my big feet. Yes, sometimes you tread on people's toes with those great big clown feet of yours, Jesus said. But you also jump in to following me with your whole self. And I love that. Energetic, passionate, risk taker, a little bit crazy. I can work with that, he said. And that's what Jesus did. We worked together. I even became something of a leader. Me, a leader. But let me tell you, I never stopped being a risk taker. I was always a little bit crazy and I kept messing up. But God kept on loving me and he kept on changing me so that I became the very best person, best version of my crazy self. Being a disciple isn't about perfection or personality. It's about saying yes to God by jumping in with your whole self. I hope my story helps you and your friends at St. Mark's. Your fishy friend, Peter. Wow. What do you think about that, guys?
It was a very touching and encouraging letter on a huge scroll.
Wasn't it? So excited to get it and so excited to share it with you all today. Well, do you know what? Let's just do a quick questionnaire because I know one or two of you, particularly Naomi and Will, have got some fishy objects and some big thumbs to raise. So everyone can join in. You don't have to have a fishy object like mine, but if you've got a fishy object or a thumb, I want you to hold it up if you agree with any of the following questions. Here we go. Do you ever speak before you think?
All the time.
Yeah, thumbs up, fishy object. Do you frequently post what's on your mind on Facebook?
For that.
There's a few people nodding and putting their thumbs up. I'm sure there are. Do you struggle to sit still and listen at school or work or church? Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Are you good at solving problems?
Give it a go.
It's good to have a go, Will. Well done. Do you ever have to say sorry for things you blurted out?
Very often.
Yeah.
Now then, are you a risk taker?
I think I am. Probably could be a bit more risk taker-ish. Yeah.
I'm not going to jump out of the plane anytime soon, though.
Just getting on a plane will be an idea.
How about this one? Have you ever walked on water? I did try this on holiday once, but I sank. How about this? Are you full of energy? Sometimes.
Some days.
Yeah.
In January.
The beginning of the week in January, perhaps not on a Friday.
Great stuff. Well, I hope everyone's getting on really well with these questions. There's one more to go. So get ready to do a big thumbs up if you smell a fish.
Oh, well.
I'm all good. I'm all good.
Well, friends, great to have a little bit of fun with those questions. If you answered yes to 2 or more of those questions, I think you're quite like Peter. And that's not a bad thing, you know. Remember, God uses our energy and even our failures. One of the most important things about being a disciple is showing up and saying yes to God with our whole selves. I'm going to hand over now to Naomi.
Thanks, Matt. Yes. Have you ever watched Joe Wicks workout online? Some of you may have. You may even have joined in on your PE sessions each day during your homeschool learning that I know you're all taking so seriously. Well, he gives everything he has to the exercises he performs. His whole body is involved in some way or other. So I thought I'd try creating an exercise video myself. Yeah, don't laugh. It's not quite the same standard as Joe Wicks, but in this video, we'll warm up by doing some exercises with our whole bodies. And when we're warm, we'll learn some actions for the Lord's Prayer before praying it together at the end with our whole bodies. So get ready to move. Stand up, make sure you've got some space around you. And here we go.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Everybody, again, here we go.
Matt's ready. Up you go.
Who's ready? Naomi's ready. Everybody's ready. Let's go.
Starting with some lunges. And again on the other foot. Super. Ready for some star jumps. Great. Keep it up. Super. Running on the spot. Get those knees up. Brilliant. Now jumping side to side. Ski jumps. Brilliant. And we're going to finish with some squats. Super. And again, hold it. Great. Well done. All warmed up. So now we're all warmed up, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer with actions. We're going to use the whole of our bodies to signify that we want to follow Jesus with the whole of our lives. Here we go. Our Father in heaven. Now for the next bit, we're going to say, hallowed be your name. And we're going to imagine we are waving a very tall flag in support of our favourite team. Have a go. Hallowed be your name. Now we're going to grab a crown and pop it on our heads. Your kingdom come. On earth, now you're going to reach down and grab some earth. On earth, with the other hand, as it is in heaven. Great. Next bit involves a loaf of bread or a baguette. We're going to reach out our hands and we're going to grab our imaginary baguette and bring it towards us. Give us today our daily, and you can snap that bread in half, bread. And then you can give it a big sniff. Oh, isn't that delicious fresh bread? Next bit, we're going to create a balance with our arms. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Next bit, we're going to pretend there's a candle in front of us that's very hot that we shouldn't touch. And we're going to lean forward. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And then we're going to return to the kingdom, but this time we're going to move a lump of soil and we're going to push it like this on a tray, push it like this, as if we're creating that kingdom, that earth. For thine is the kingdom. We're going to lift it up to heaven to show earth being joined to heaven. The power and the glory. I'm going to plug it in. Now we're going to point to our watch. Forever. And then we're going to take the watch off and throw it away. And ever. Amen. Fantastic. Let's put it all together as we pray with the whole of our bodies. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours forever and ever. Amen. Fantastic. Isn't it great to pray with the whole of our bodies? Jesus wants us to live life for him with every bit of our life this week. Over to you, Will.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Naomi. I don't know about anybody else. I definitely, in this tiny little part of my kitchen, was trying to work out as best as I could. But an amazing few actions to make us think about the words in the Lord's Prayer, because we hear it so often sometimes, don't we, at church? And it is a great way to break it up and to think about the individual parts, what we pray to God and what we ask from him, but also think about the things he's already given us. So we're coming to a close now. We're coming to an end, and but should we take a moment just to think about what we listened to, what we learned about in that video, and what we learned from the scroll from Peter, and everything that we know about Peter, and how, even though he was impulsive, very enthusiastic, and got stuff wrong a lot of the time, Jesus still chose him, still wanted him to be the rock on which the church is built. To begin that process, all those 2,000 years ago. Doesn't that say a lot about you and me? I know for certain I make a lot of mistakes every day. Every day I make lots of mistakes. But yet God still chooses me and loves me regardless of what I do. So maybe for a moment, let's just think about one thing that we love to do. For Peter, he did enjoy fishing. But then when he met Jesus, he loved to do as much as he could for Jesus. That's what he loved to do. He loved doing as much as he possibly could for Jesus, even though he got it wrong. I don't know about you, that's how I want to live my life. So maybe this week, as we go into homeschooling, as we go into work, whatever we're going into this week, may we just remember that even though we make mistakes, Jesus still wants you and he wants me to be disciples. He wants you, Matt, he wants Naomi, he wants me to all be disciples, to follow him, to learn from him some of the words that we saw in the comments. So I don't know how you like to pray, but I love to pray by looking out of my window, looking at the creation that God has given me. So as I just lead us in a short prayer now, how about you do what you like to pray, how you like to pray, and just think about how God calls us to be disciples and what we have learned from Peter. God, we thank you for providing this place, this earth, this creation for us to live in, that it is full of good things for us to do, for us to eat, for us to enjoy. We are sorry for the mistakes that we make, for the wrong that we do. But we just want to turn to you now and just say thank you and to glorify you in how you bring us back to you, even though we're broken, even though we make mistakes, because you can see past that. You can just see the love that's in us. You just see how much you love us. And that's what matters to you. So Father, as we go into the rest of this week, whatever we have planned, may we remember how enthusiastic, how impulsive, how fishy Peter might have been, and how we might relate. And even when we do make mistakes, that you are there with us, whatever we're up to this week. And all God's people said, Amen.
Amen.
Well, Matt, Naomi, thank you for joining us and leading us in those areas. Matt, I don't know what you're going to do with that big scroll. It might cost a lot of money to send it back to Peter.
There could be some nice new wallpaper, I think, maybe for his lounge.
There you go. Upcycling. That's the way forward. Upcycling. Amazing. This is the formal end of our Together service today, but we are going to be joining other people from across St. Mark's in our Coffee and Chat Zoom as soon as this is over. So you should have been sent those in the details for that Zoom this week. If you haven't, privately message our Facebook page and we'll be able to send them to you now. But we look forward to seeing some of you in our Zoom call. But until next time, should we all just say goodbye, adios, farewell? Any other words? Guys, do you know any other words for goodbye?
See ya.
See ya. There you go. Ciao. Au revoir. Great to see you all.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.